Girls Und Panzer is a 10 out of 10. It is just so damn fun to watch. I love the sexy tank action, the tactics they use, the historical references, the characters, the tense battles. I love it all so much, so I want to answer in this video why. What makes Girls Und Panzer so fun? So my main point is, I think the creators of the show are playing around with the concept of tank battles and bringing it to life on screen. Simply, the battleground is their playground. They have a fun cast of characters to play with as well, and they have great interactions bouncing off between them. The whole show feels like a small bubble where we can see girls and tanks fighting, because the creator has this well-realized sandbox where they have the freedom to do anything inside of. So we have the simple concept of tanks battling each other. I've never seen real tank warfare before or how it's usually like, but I assume it's slow and tactical. But because of the anime production team's vision, we see what tanks are capable of doing if they just went completely insane and did whatever they wanted to do with them. So I think some examples are in order. We have tanks flying through the air, firing in midair, tanks on top of other tanks, tanks doing initial D-drifts, and a couple impressive one-on-one tank battles that don't feel slow and tactical at all. They feel as fast and intense as hand-to-hand combat. Besides the tanks themselves, the tactics used are always creative. Each battle feels fresh and new. It starts off with ambushes and decoys, then guerrilla tactics and using their environment to their advantage. If one side gets cornered, that side usually comes up with an innovative way to escape. The setting is also unusual. They sometimes take place on open fields, but just as often they use city streets and amusement parks, which makes for interesting battlefields. I hope that gives a small picture of how creative the team are, showing the full range of potential of tanks that can't be done in real life. Even in its presentation and visual storytelling, it's all about playing around. Like, the shots that spurred this idea in my head is how many first-person tank battle shots there were, which is a great way to present how the story and battle is unfolding. What's important is the actual freedom and choice the creators had to be able to put the camera there, and they actually pulled it off in a smooth way. I'm just realizing it probably is because they have a real 3D environment to play in, like a map of the Ori ship to put tank models on and animate in. More anime should do that. It makes the battle feel so tactile and set in a real place, and it allows them to do those first-person shots and a manner of other impressive shots like crane shots as well. To briefly reiterate the point again, they're playing around with the concept and then pushing it to the farthest that it could. Like, the concept is just tank battles, they're limited by the battlefield and who is fighting who, and then the creators ask themselves, what kind of interactions could these characters have based on their personality? What kind of unusual tactics would they use? What are the tanks physically capable of doing? They're playfully experimenting within their limitations, playing with all the pieces they have on the board. They can keep continuing the story as long as they come up with unique ways for these battles to happen. It does remind me of other shonen anime whose main appeal is the fights and how creative they can get, but I think Girls Und Panzer appeals to me, besides having cute girls, is that the concept is very clearly defined. You're only gonna get tank battles, but they're gonna be the most intense, engaging tank battles of all time. That's my main point, but also just wanted to shortly mention two other reasons about what makes Girls Und Panzer fun. We have not talked about the titular girls. What I noticed is that none of them are unlikable. No one is outright vilified to be the worst people on earth who deserve to be destroyed. No, they're all just high school girls like the girls at Ori Academy, and this only adds to the sense of camaraderie and fun to the sport of Senshado. Most of the girls get a chance to shine and show their personality, though some are more memorable than others. I would say what helps in this department is that it's not afraid to spoof stereotypes of countries heavily involved in World War II, making each character's personality instantly recognizable. You see Darjeeling and she's obviously gonna act posh and drink tea, but it also never feels mocking or offensive. It's always playful and teasing. Another thing about the characters, considering the amount, admittedly I wouldn't say they really have much depth. The only ones who have any depth would be the amount we were given for the members in the anglerfish team in the first season. You know, Miho has a traumatic past with Senshado, Mako and her grandma, Hana and her mom, and even then, it's not that in-depth or meaningful. But all of that is fine. The characters make up for it by being funny. A lot of the interactions between characters are just so memorable. Katyusha and her mom, Nana, Darjeeling always telling Rose Hip to return, Oshida and Ando bickering. There are so many little interactions like this. Each one has a simple, repeatable shtick, but there's so many of them it makes the whole show feel rich in its comedy. Last reason for why I think Girls Und Panzer is a fun show is that it's just straight up really tense and engaging. On top of the funny quips and jokes interlaced throughout the battle, it's always a legitimately well fought out battle full of strategy and tactics from both sides. As I've said, the tactics are always creative and characters find themselves in desperate situations, still somehow clutching a victory at the end. If it's a flag match, the two flag tanks from each side are seconds away from destroying each other. If it's an annihilation match, both sides only have one tank left. They always write the battles to be as edge of your seat as possible. It also helps that each battle sequence is impeccably directed and executed. The animation is always high quality and consistent. It's actually insane. Big statement, but the production quality is the best I've seen in any anime. So yeah, that's why I think Girls and Panzer is so fun to watch. To reiterate my main point, I hope I get the point across that the creators of Girls and Panzer are playing as much as they are creating the show, and I myself have a lot of fun watching it because I feel the fun and passion they have for tanks through the show, seeing the range of potential that tank warfare has being pushed to its edge. But this show just makes me want to do things. I'm an aspiring sort of director myself, but I genuinely believe an important part of being a director or artist is accessing your inner child, playing around with those limitations, then exploring it to its furthest limits and creating something out of it. I legitimately get inspired whenever I watch this show. I'm gonna write some fan fiction, even though I have no idea how to simulate a real battle. Or really, I'm not a history buff or tank buff of any kind. I just love this show so much. So yeah, that's my video on Girls and Panzer, and always remember, Panzer 4.